welcome you all to our fourth annual Farmers Breakfast. I want to start by saying how incredibly brave you all are of all the days to gather a group of farmers, ag leaders, FFA students, and friends. We chose Friday the 13th. So, now some folks will say that Friday the 13th is, well, a little unlucky. They talk about black cats and broken mirrors and walking under ladders, but if anyone knows how to handle a little superstition, it's farmers, because they don't scare easily. So our farmers have stared down droughts, floods, early frosts, late springs, markets that change rapidly, and you still show up before sunrise. I have to say, give them credit. Our Secretary of Agriculture was here before the sun came up this morning. So thank you for that, Mr. Secretary. You can tell he really is a farmer. So if Friday the 13th thinks that it can rattle this crowd, it clearly doesn't know farmers, and especially our York County farmers. So I want to thank you all for being here today. A lot goes into planning this event. So I want to give a huge thank you and a big round of applause to our Eureka Volunteer Fire Company for the use of their hall, and of course, their amazing auxiliary. I know you're going to enjoy the incredibly delicious breakfast that they have prepared for us today. I would also like to welcome some of our elected officials who are in attendance today. We have Congressman Lloyd Smucker. Congressman, there he is. Lloyd, thank you for being here today. We also have Representative Kate Klunk from the 169th District, from Shrewsbury Township up to Hanover. We have Representative Wendy Fink. There she is. From the 94th District, we have my state representative, Representative Mike Jones from the 93rd District. I have not seen him yet, but I know he is on his way if he's not here already, and that's Representative Joe Diorsi. Oh, Joe. Joe's got his Tractor Supply hat on. He's gone native on me. So 47th District, and I believe York County Commissioner Doug Hoke is also here as well. So we also have Amber Albright and Rebecca Hurst. They are from the United States Department of Agriculture, and they are here with us today. Ladies, if you could wave if anybody has any questions. They are here from USDA. And of course, I would be terribly remiss if I did not welcome Dr. McCormick, former chancellor of our state system of higher education, also the dad of U.S. Senator Dave McCormick. To our breakfast this morning, he came down to be with us. Dr. McCormick, wave hello to everybody. He's from Bloomsburg, had a farm up there, which we got to catch up about all the local spots because I had family up there and have some of my fondest memories traipsing around the mountains up there by the creek. And of course, we got to reminisce about Hickory Joe's and the booming metropolis of Forks. So, Dr. McCormick, thank you for being here today. I really would like to acknowledge our sponsors of this event. We have Chris Herr, he's with Penn Ag Industries, Sherry Bonowitz and Josh Snyder from Energy Transfer, Rob Bolware from Seneca Resources, Courtney Gray from the Pennsylvania Strategic Investment Program, Daniel Rohrbaugh and Court Bayshore with Horizon Farm Credit, and Andrew Ritter with Range Resources. And I know that Chris would probably like to come up and say a few words.
How about if I say it from here?
You've got a great booming voice. Go for it.
It's great to be here. Really appreciate, you mentioned the sponsors. You noticed that there's a lot of agriculture and a lot of energy in that group. We think that ag and energy are two things that we can rarely do without or never. And you can always disagree about them from a policy perspective, but do it over a hot breakfast in a warm place, and here we are today. I want to thank, first of all, Senator Phillips-Hill. She does an amazing job for us, as does all the elected officials here today. We're really fortunate to have the support both in the ag and the energy world from our elected officials. It's great to have Congressman Smucker here, and I know Dr. McCormick and I got to catch up and look forward to hearing from Senator McCormick here in a little bit. So your elected officials do an amazing job on behalf of agriculture. There's a lot of challenges right now. This morning, unfortunately, we're going to be putting down about 3 million more chickens in Pennsylvania. Avian influenza has really hit hard, and Secretary Redding will talk about that in a little bit. Have partnered really closely with the Department of Agriculture, have an unprecedented partnership and unprecedented investment from our elected officials to combat that. But it's kind of a sad, challenging time right now, and Russell will talk a little bit more about that. So appreciate the support that we get from our elected officials, and agriculture is well served by your leadership. So thank you again.
Chris, thank you so much. At this time, I would like to invite Emma Wilt, our York County Dairy Miss, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Emma, I'm going to turn the microphone over to you. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Emma, thank you so much. And before we grab breakfast, I do want to say, I want to give a huge shout out to our FFA students. For those of you who don't know, they don't have school today. And they could have slept in and been blissfully under their covers, warm and snug, but they all decided that they wanted to be here today. I will tell you, it's always an honor to spend time with them, and I always leave thinking the future of agriculture in Pennsylvania is in very capable and competent hands. So let's give a big round of applause to our FFA students. And with that, please grab some breakfast. Well, before we begin, I would like to welcome the York County Dairy Princesses. We'll welcome back Emma Wilt. We have Olivia Carball, Adeline Carball, and Lily Pittman, and they will be leading us in a milk toast. Are you ladies ready? All right.
Hello, my name is Emma Wilt.
Hi, my name's Olivia Carball.
Please take a moment and fill a glass with milk. Please raise your glasses with us. We would like to thank the farmers and farm families for providing us with fresh milk, dairy products, meat, produce, grains, and more every day. Your hard work and dedication to the farming lifestyle is beyond compare.
We would like to thank the lawmakers for supporting the ag community and making sure that agriculture and open spaces are protected for the future generations. We would like to thank the veterans and the first responders for showing up in times when others would walk away. You are true heroes. We thank you for this opportunity to share the best of agriculture with you and our community.
Cheers.
Thank you very much, ladies. Our first speaker has been a strong advocate for economic growth, rural development, and policies that support agriculture. He understands that our farmers are not just the backbone of Pennsylvania's economy, but they are the backbone of our nation. Supporting infrastructure, energy independence, and rural investment, he has emphasized the importance of keeping our agricultural communities strong and competitive. It is a pleasure to welcome this year's keynote speaker, United States Senator Dave McCormick.
Thank you. Thanks, Senator. Thank you. Thank you, Senator. Thank you for your great service, and thank you all so much for being here this morning. We have a number of elected officials here, Lloyd Smucker and a number of others. Can you guys hear me? Not in the back. Okay. Maybe this is better. That one's okay now? All right. We'll try it that way. Good. Well, thank you all for being here, and thank you for the opportunity to speak with you and to really talk about something that's so important to our Commonwealth, which is our agriculture community. 1 in 10 jobs in Pennsylvania is in the agriculture community. It's a huge industry, $130 billion of annual GDP. It's a huge part of our culture here in Pennsylvania. Let me start by saying what a privilege it is to be your senator. I really feel honored to do it. I'm the 54th elected senator in Pennsylvania's history. I'm the 9th senator in the history of America from West Point. And so every day I wake up, you walk through this Capitol and it's so nasty. You turn on the TV and, people saying horrible things about each other. But then you walk down those halls and you see those marble statues of Thomas Jefferson and Abraham Lincoln and the people that built this country. And it's a real privilege to represent the Keystone State. It's where America was born, right here in Pennsylvania. And we're the 250th year this year. And so to be able to represent Pennsylvania is a great honor at any moment, but it's a particularly great honor at this moment because the country is facing so many challenges and so many opportunities. And so I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to be there. I'm a kid from Bloomington, Pennsylvania, Columbia County. I grew up in farm country. My folks had a family farm, a small farm. And I went to public high school, wrestled and played football, and then that got me into West Point, and that was really how I got started. And so I have an appreciation from summers baling hay and working around our community how important this industry is to Pennsylvania and everything we do. I want to welcome my dad here. My dad and my mom were on the campaign trail, both campaign trails, the losing campaign trail and the winning campaign trail. The winning one was a lot more fun. And whatever hard feedback you got and whatever, I want to hear it. But I get it pretty much every morning between 7:30 and 8 when I call my dad. And whatever's going wrong, I hear about it. So I got my finger on the pulse. The election last year, I've been in office only a year. And the election was about change. And there were 3 big things that we were focused on. The President Trump ran on and that I ran on. And number 1 was closing the border. And in particular, stopping the flow of fentanyl in Pennsylvania and the country. It was 100,000 people died last year from fentanyl, 4,000 people in Pennsylvania. So that the border was allowing criminals and others to come in here. And that fentanyl crisis, I met with those fentanyl families. I don't know if you probably all know somebody that was affected by fentanyl. It's horrible. So that was one priority. A second priority was energy dominance. Pennsylvania is the 2nd largest energy producer in America. It's the 4th largest natural gas reserves in the world. But making sure we can take advantage of that to build our communities and to bring down energy prices, but also create jobs was a huge priority. So that's the second big thing that we've been focused on. I think we've made a lot of progress on that. And the third big thing was essentially making life more affordable for working families across Pennsylvania. And, over the previous 4 years, inflation had gone up by about 22% over 4 years. Prices up by 22% total. And wages had gone up by about 14%. So you just had this, people had less money in their pockets in general, and that was putting pressure on working families. So it was getting harder and harder to make ends meet month to month, week to week. If somebody had a transmission go down, it's like, what are you going to do? And that's not like some Pennsylvanians. That's more Pennsylvanians than not. And so that was a huge, huge issue. And we made progress on that. Inflation now is about half what it was during on average during the Biden administration. It's about 2.5. So prices are going up about 2.5% a year. Wages are going up by about 4% a year. And the overall economy is growing pretty quickly, about 5% in the last quarter. But people still aren't totally feeling it. And there's a lot more work to do. There's work to do in things like energy prices. There's work to do in health care. costs. There's work to do in housing prices. You know, when I was a kid, the average person owned a home in their late 20s at the age of 28. Today, it's 41. 41 is when first-time home buyers come. So if you think the American dream is partially you have a home and you have the security goes with the home, that's more and more out of touch for a lot of people. So those are the big things that we need to be focused on. And the biggest piece of legislation that's happened in like 30 years was the Working Families Tax Cut Act, which Lloyd and I both voted for. It's a big deal, and it did a lot of good things. A lot of good things for working families, and a lot of good things for people in the ag community and farmers. So the most important thing is that it stopped taxes from rising, which they were set to rise pretty significant. It was the hugest tax increase in history. But we also did a lot of other things in there for working families. One of the biggest worries is that people are having less children. It's getting more and more expensive to have children, so people are having less children in general. So that had no tax on tips. It had no tax on overtime. It had no tax on Social Security for about 90% of the people that get Social Security benefits. None of you have seen the benefits of that yet. That's going to happen when you do your taxes this spring. And those are big opportunities. But it also has a child care tax credit and a child tax credit, making it essentially more affordable to have children. And it did a lot of things that are great for farmers. In that piece of legislation was a lot of the components of the Farm Bill. And so if you looked at federal programs, if you looked at crop insurance, if you looked at the estate tax, which is a big deal for a lot of farmers that are trying to pass it on generation, we made that permanent. So now you can have certainty. You can pass your farm on to your family without having them have to pay taxes, which means they can't take over the family farm, given how expensive farm land prices have become. It had accelerated depreciation, so you can write off big pieces of equipment that you might not otherwise. It had a proud, finally, whole milk in schools, which is obviously a big deal. And so there's lots of things in there that are, I think, great for our community. The trade agenda has put some uncertainty on prices, I know, and countries buying our crops. There was a supplemental appropriation. You probably all know about this, but $11 billion that was to help row crops and other farmers. But we probably need more for that, maybe for the hardwood people and things like that. So Lloyd and I and others are advocating. So there's lots of good things that happen, but there's lots of work to do. And so that's what's happening in Washington today in terms of trying to stay focused. I was in a meeting in the White House. I just want you to know the ag community is on the president's mind. It's on everybody's mind. I was in an event, I guess it was Wednesday, in the White House with the president and all the coal miners, given the focus we're trying to put on coal. Pennsylvania is number 3 producer of coal in the country, and there's lots of great clean coal that we're not taking advantage of. And the president was giving his talk on coal, and all of a sudden he switched to ag. And he started to talk about how these trade deals needed to get finished, and India just got finished, which is a big deal for our ag community. But he also said part of those deals that he wants to make sure there's a big focus on is those explicit commitments to buy agricultural products from the United States. So I want you to know that there's a big focus on it. I know there's other questions and concerns about H-2As, which is on people's minds, and you know that's an ongoing problem. It's an ongoing issue where we have a backlog due to some of the things early in the administration in terms of H-2A approvals. We have a backlog on the H-2As, and we got to fix that backlog because I know that's putting a lot of uncertainty in people's minds. But I think if you step back and you say there was a promise of change, and that change was to make life better for working families across Pennsylvania, that agenda is making a lot of progress. And if you think about a public official like me or the congressman and others here, this community and policies to make sure this community thrives is a critical part of that agenda. And so I want you to know that I know we got more work to do. I think we've made good progress, but you've got somebody that wants to hear about the problems, wants to work across the aisle. I've got a great relationship with the secretary. We You know, when you go to the farm show, nobody's talking about who's a Republican or a Democrat. Everybody's talking about how do we do great things for our ag community, and I think that's the way all of us who are in public office think about you and think about the importance of this to Pennsylvania. And again, not just the jobs and the numbers, but the community, what this means to local communities in terms of the life that all of you have chosen to be part of. It's a great part of Pennsylvania. We don't want to lose it. So let me just end with that. I want to say also that Senator Fetterman, the other senator, is a great supporter of your agenda too, our agenda. And so one of the things I'm proud of is he and I have forged a great relationship. He's been a big supporter of whole milk in schools. He's been a big supporter of this committee. He used to be on the ag committee. And we forged a really great relationship. We disagree on more things than we agree on, but we focus on the things we agree on. And we've been able to do good things. We've introduced legislation, insurance for mushroom farmers. We've done a fentanyl bill together. We've been focused on a lot of issues together. And, based on my relationship with him, I now have a title that my 6 daughters would never have dreamed possible, which is the best dressed senator in Pennsylvania. I mean, that's federal senator. I'm not speaking of the state senators, but that's been I guess that's been the big surprise about coming into the Senate is that he campaigned against me, and I got there, and he and I have figured out a way to work together, and it's been a pleasant surprise. So let me stop there.
Our next speaker is representing York County on the Pennsylvania Future Farmers of America state team. She has a passion for leadership, she has a heart for service, and she hopes to inspire future generations to find their place in agriculture. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to York County's own Leah Flinchbaugh.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm super excited to be here today. And on behalf of my 6 teammates and the over 16,000 Pennsylvania FFA members, thank you to the Senator for inviting me to be a small part of the celebration here today. Today, and not just today, but every day, we celebrate the American farmer, the one who feeds us, the one who clothes us, and carefully stewards the land around us. And as I think about York County, I think about the incredible agriculturalists that we have in York County and are so blessed to live amongst. And I'm so grateful that I get to share this county with all of you and all the agriculturalists here. As you drive around York County, you see the dairy farmers and the crop farmers. You see the hog and poultry producers, fruit and vegetable growers, and everyone in between. You can't drive across our county without seeing agriculture and literally breathing it in. So it's really, really special that we have that for everyone in York County. But as I think about our York County farmers, one in particular comes to mind, and that's my dad. My dad is 4th generation on my family's farm and grew up in agriculture throughout his life. Farming has always been a part of his life. And my dad has shared stories about agriculture and how he grew up. He grew up farming with his family every day. He grew up planting acres of pumpkins with his family. And it's through those stories that he shared the values of agriculture and instilled those values in me. Hard work, perseverance, unwavering grit, all of those values that are important in agriculture, but also really, really important throughout our life. So it's through those that I've been able to do some incredible things and really meet with other people. Now, as a Pennsylvania FFA state officer, I've been able to share those stories and those values with all our FFA members and everyone that I get to meet throughout my year. I was elected back in June 2025 to serve a 1-year term on a team of 7. And I actually have some of my teammates here with me today. So thank you all for coming and welcome to York County. But as a state officer, we actually have to be graduated high school. So I graduated high school this past May and am taking a gap year, so a year off of work or college or anything else to serve our over 16,000 Pennsylvania FFA members. So I'm incredibly honored to get to hold this title for a year and represent Pennsylvania FFA, agricultural education, and agriculture as a whole. It's really, really special that I get this opportunity to work amongst our youth and our future of agriculture. But as a state officer, my role is to carry out the mission of the FFA. So we're developing students' potential for premier leadership, personal growth, and career success through agricultural education. So throughout our year of service, my team and I get to travel across the state and even the country a little bit doing just that. And we get to meet FFA members, we get to lead conferences and conventions, facilitate workshops, and a lot of interaction with our youth and helping them develop those skills and those values of agriculture that I talked about. But a lot of our time is spent doing what we call chapter visits. So we get to visit schools all across Pennsylvania and meet with our FFA members on their home turf. I did the math the other day, and our team as a whole has visited over 90 schools so far. And I've visited about 45 of those. I've traveled over 11,000 miles in just 8 short months. So we've stayed really busy this year. It's been a very full year, but one of the most rewarding, actually the most rewarding and fulfilling experiences of my life. It's been a blessing to serve amongst some of my biggest role models, but an even bigger blessing to serve the future of agriculture. So as I continue to finish out my year, I'm going to continue to share those stories of agriculture. Those stories that when I meet with the FFA members that they share about their experiences in agriculture, but those stories that my dad shared with me and those values that my dad instilled in me through agriculture. I'm going to continue to share those with the FFA members as we meet them. But thank you all so much for being here today. To all the agriculturalists and all the farmers in the room today, thank you all for what you guys do. You truly are the backbone of our country, and we wouldn't be here without you, and we couldn't continue tomorrow without all of you. But to everyone in here who maybe doesn't find themselves on a farm every day, thank you for what you guys do. Your advocacy and your belief in our industry also continues and lets those farmers do everything that they do. And it's really with that support why we're able to do what we do. But again, thank you to the Senator for inviting me here. I'm inviting all of our future of agriculture, all our youth in the blue jackets here today. It's really inspiring to see all of you here. So thank you for that invitation. Thank you for hosting this. And good luck with all of your spring seasons. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Leah, for your presentation. And I think if you heard me say earlier, when I interact with these young people, I feel as if agriculture in York County is in really good hands. And I think you can see it really is in very good hands. Does anybody have any questions for Leah? And she will be here for a little bit, so don't be shy. She loves to answer questions about agriculture, and it really is, again, it is so wonderful to see so many young people involved in agriculture and representing York County. So, our final speaker today, he needs no introduction. Many of you know him very well. As a matter of fact, we probably should consider him actually a York County, because really Adams County at one point was part of York County. He has attended every farmer's breakfast I have had the pleasure of hosting. He continues to deliver for our agriculture community. Please join me in welcoming our dear friend, Secretary Redding.
Thank you. Hey, Senator, thank you, and good morning, everybody. Honored to be here. I feel like I get to this point in the program, and maybe the best thing to say is just amen, right? We have heard from our senator, U.S. Senator. Just want to say thank you. I think he may have left, but I just want to put a footnote to his comments about going through the farm show. I had the privilege this year of walking with him and touring, and that is a tough task, right? Because about every 3 feet, I mean, someone's got a different question about agriculture and public policy and what's going on around the world, and what a statesman. I mean, he did a wonderful job of navigating and talking and engaging and reassuring and just flat out being honest sometimes, like, I don't know, right? We're going to figure that out. And I really appreciated that. And as I look over, Congressman Smucker is with us as well, so you know firsthand, right? You heard as I did. But just want to say thanks, I mean, for being here. To all of you, Senator, thank you always for being a great champion for agriculture, inviting me down. I think this is the 4th year that I've done this breakfast, and each time I come back, I'm just always just admired this community in so many ways. So just a note of thanks. I want to give a shout out to the Eureka Fire Department for the breakfast, right? Everybody liked to eat. Yeah, a round of applause to that team. And just let me say thanks for breakfast. I mean, I think it's a good place to start every day, but also giving thanks is a good thing to do, right? We walk around, most of us in this world, and we don't realize just how privileged we are, right? To have access to the food that we have every day, the abundance that is made possible by people here, both in this county and state and nation. And I think sometimes we've got to be reminded of that, of just how privileged we are to live where we live, to farm where we farm, to do the things that we do, to live in a country where 2% of this nation feeds us, and another 2% protect us. 4% of our nation allow us to sleep well. That's an amazing thing, right? 2% who protect us in the military, and 2% allow us to really eat well. And that's a lot of responsibility for a small number of people. And we celebrate that. We celebrate it today. We celebrate in the work that we do through the year. And we're reminded when we come together like this that there are a lot of people who make that possible. I want to start with just a thank you. I feel like the most important thing I can say is a thank you. We have a lot of people who work every day to make possible what we do in this Commonwealth, right? From our conservation districts and our royalty who are here, our Farm Bureau. Chris Hoffman's here somewhere. Chris is in the back as our state president. We've got Chris Herr with Penn Ag Industries. We've got the energy companies. You know, there's so much here. So many good people. Our county commissioners and township supervisors. As I go up and down the tables, I mean, everybody's got a piece of this story, right? Everyone's got their piece, and they do their piece, and we're really, really grateful for what you do. So it's important to say thanks. I also walk away from this breakfast listening to Senator McCormick, recognizing that from the national level to the local level, we have folks who want to see us succeed, right? And I'm gratified by that. They want to see us as an industry succeed. And that's a good feeling, right? Because we're going to need everybody to help us navigate the issues that we have. And the Senator spoke to some of those issues this morning that settled, and I hear them, we see them, we're trying to figure them out. We have to continue to stay positive about them. I've tried to champion this sort of outlook that we have been on a path of change for 250 years, right? We take a long view. It's the thing I really appreciate about the industry, is this is about not this year necessarily, right? It's not even about this generation in some cases. It's about the next one and the one after and after that one. And I think that's a really wonderful sort of quality and spirit of the agricultural community. So thank you for being part of that and staying in really constructive conversations here. I always want to say thanks to the FFA. Many of you know my story along the way that I was lucky enough to have an ag teacher at Gettysburg High School who was brave enough to go talk to my dad about allowing me to go to college. I'm number 10 of 11 children. So before workforce was a thing, it was a thing. Right? I can tell you, when as those older siblings sort of off doing their farms, military and being builders and teachers, as that list got shorter, the technology came along, surprisingly, right? All of that innovation stuff that we spent a lot of time in ag talking about. But my ag teacher, Mr. George Glenn, went to my dad. And I can still see him in the milk house trying to talk him into allowing me to go to Penn State. I wanted to be an ag teacher. Ended up with a lot of compromise, but the ag teacher sort of brokered this deal that allowed me to go to college. The deal was I had to milk cows in the morning and the evening and go to class during the day for the first year, right? So I think it was a blessing, right? But he did that. And I look back and think about how lucky I was, one, to be in an ag program in a high school with 3 amazing teachers who were great advisors, not just for the FFA, but just personal advisors, right? They gave me a lot of sort of direction in life. And to think around Pennsylvania, we've got roughly 70 schools that have the FFA program. We've got 501 school districts. So when you have them here, I think there are 4 chapters represented this morning, if I count is right, plus our state officers. So York County, right? That's a really amazing sort of gift in so many ways. So the local boards and administrators and such to have an ag program with great teachers and FFA is really a wonderful sort of statement about what we value, but it's also an important part of what we see as the future. So thank you to each of the community members who support the FFA. And then to all of our elected leaders from township to county to the representatives in Congress, and I just want to say thanks. I mean, I really feel like the issues that we've got to confront are concerns of common interest. I mean, you're making those really strategic investments at many levels to allow us to be successful. The Senator McCormick talked about sort of a federal farm bill, and Chairman Thompson, who was here last year, talked about that farm bill. Pennsylvania remains the only state with its own state-level farm bill in the nation. Think about it, right? And we did that very intentionally. We did that because on the federal side, you know, that farm bill's got to reach from the Susquehanna Valley of Pennsylvania to the San Joaquin Valley of California. It's a 3,000-mile journey between them, right? There's a lot of real estate inside of it. There's a lot of things that a federal farm bill can do and should do. But there's a lot of things that we should do, right? I worry about how do you transition this farm from this generation to that generation, right? I worry about what happens in urban agricultural centers. Some of our most amazing beekeepers in this state are on the rooftops of Philadelphia. I've been to the darkest places of our cities. And there's a universal language about food. They like to eat just like I do, right? They want to grow, and the pride that I see there. The conservation work that we do, there are things that we have to do in Pennsylvania. And thank you to Senator Phillips-Hill for the work on the ACAP program. Again, unique to Pennsylvania and this Bay region. That's important. I think about ag education and what we do. That's in our state farm bill. Organic. Anybody like organic products? We're number 3 in the nation, number 1 in organic poultry, number 1 in organic eggs, right? That's important to us. It's a differentiator for us. We're number 2 in direct farm sales between the farm and the consumer in the nation, second only to California. We're number 1 in the young farmers under the age of 35 in the nation. We're number 1 in farmland preservation in the nation. We got 3 ports that link us to all of those people who like to eat what we eat. What percent of the U.S. is the world's population? What percent? You're right in the ballpark, 5%. So 95% of the available stomachs are someplace other than the United States of America. Is trade important to us? You bet. Right? Having a port that somehow links us to those folks is an important piece. We've got 3 of them. That's important. 44 inches of natural rain. Important to us? You listen to the news this morning and all the debate about the Colorado River, and they're trying to find resolution to that. I'll take the 44 inches as long as 30 don't come in the month of May. Right? That's like last year. That's a challenge. But having natural rain is amazing. Right? And I can go on with the list. And I say it all the time to remind myself as much as anybody else that we've got these beautiful assets. You've got this wonderful farmland. You've got a community that wants to see us succeed. Right? We've got our challenges. Listen, don't get me wrong. If you're in this business, every day brings a new one. And particularly when we're dependent on both, you know, many, many people and levels of government and negotiators around the world to have some of that success, that takes a lot of patience. I get it. But never lose sight of the long view. We had a theme this year at the farm show of growing a nation, and Senator McCormick mentioned this, sort of the importance of the time and the place. And I've spent a lot of time, you know, looking back at the history. We have a preserve farm in Gettysburg, and that farm itself was the morning of July 3rd, the cavalry battle at Gettysburg was on our farm. And I think a lot about, you know, what was happening, and you can't tell the story of America without Gettysburg, of course. You cannot tell that story about America without Pennsylvania. And read the history, right? The folks who were really 250 years ago trying to figure out how do we navigate both a government and a nation. And building that and growing that was part of the story of the farm show. And it's a beautiful story about sort of the ingenuity, the innovation, sort of the perspectives and the intellect that was around and building at that time. I think about it in the context of all of that was before. You had a land-grant university that we now go to as our go-to source for information and research and extension and teaching. None of that existed. These were just folks figuring it out along the way and building this sort of network of teaching. And you read the history. What do you think one of the issues that the early founders were thinking about in agriculture? I was really stunned by this. They were thinking about soil health. Now, if you'd asked me that, like, what are the top 10 issues that someone 250 years ago should be thinking about? I would have thought about markets and food safety and animal health and all this kind of thing. They were talking about conservation, right? It's a really beautiful story. So read some of that history, look at it, but it gives me a lot of great perspective to know where we are, right, and the journey that we've been on with our federal farm bill, our state farm bill, the investments we're making here. And so I like our chances. There's never a guarantee in this, but I like our chances. I like the chance that we have to do things, to do big things, to think about what we do here as a state and a nation, the role we played in its development. But I'm more excited about going forward. Been more challenged professionally in my life as I've ever been in the last couple of years because of the issues we've got to confront, right? The things that I see and you see playing out both in terms of the land and the value of that land and how we feed and produce and work and generate and celebrate. That's part of what we do. And we do that in a full partnership with each of you here in York County. We do it with Senator Phillips-Hill and the colleagues in the Senate and the House and all across this government. We thank you for that work. Look forward to a couple of questions if we have time. If you have them, I'd be glad to answer. I probably should mention, Chris did say about the High Path A, and I'll just put a note to this, that along with those sort of assets that I mentioned, Pennsylvania is the only state that has a recovery fund for both response to and recovery from the high path avian influenza, right? And we're in a tough period. Right, this is one of those things that came on the scene in 2022. We had, periodically over our history in the last 25 years, problems with the virus, the high path avian influenza. But increasingly now, we are in this sort of really challenging moment. A number of flocks had to be put down in the last 10 days. There is a very human side to this, that no one wants to see that happen. And we ask a lot of the farmers who do it, and the responders, and our veterinarians, and the folks around it. And I'm always grateful that we have folks who, want to do it and help us do it. But it's a really challenging moment. So just to take it full circle, one of the questions raised to Senator McCormick was about the Farm Bill. And one of the most important pieces of the Farm Bill is what happens with USDA funding for animal health, right? That is critical. We're an animal agriculture state. We love our animals, right? We do a lot of it. But we need the partnership with the USDA and their work with us. They're full partners in this. But it's where our university shows up with Penn State. It's where New Bolton Center and our veterinary school in the state, they're also assets to the state here. But also, we live in this community where we've got amazing people. People know how to grow things and know how to respond to things. And we're just really, really grateful that we have the Recovery Fund to be that little bit of a bridge between when things like this happen that are completely out of your control. It's the bird that lands at the wrong spot, right? And that has happened to us, unfortunately, too many times. But we keep working at it. And then final on that is that we were intentional with the senator's help to really build the recovery program to recognize that one of the first principles of responding to an emergency is a control zone, right? We call it a quarantine area. That means that both the index flock that was impacted understands what happened. Everybody else in the neighborhood who's caught inside of the control zone is trying to figure out what just happened. Because to them, when those birds go out, they cannot bring them back until the index flock is negative and tested negative. That means you could have 2 or 3 months of no income for a neighbor who wasn't implicated, but now is in the control zone. And that was one of those sort of negotiated points with industry and with the Senate and the House that I think it's the only one of its kind in the nation. We've had a lot of inquiries. 16 different states have asked us, how do we do that? You do it with industry support, you do it with the senators' help, you do it with the governors, right? And you do it with the House representatives. So I'm proud of that, and it's really shown forth here in the work that we're doing. So I'll stop there and take questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. When Secretary got here a little earlier today, he said, you know, I sit on the Appropriations Committee. And so my husband says it's probably my favorite time of year because I get to drill down into the finances of the Commonwealth. And I might have a reputation in Harrisburg as being a bit of a tough customer. And he said, I'm not coming before the Senate Appropriations Committee this year. I said, no, sir, you're not one of our problem children. So he's doing a great job with the funds that the Commonwealth appropriates to the Department of Agriculture to be able to do the important work that we need done here in Pennsylvania. So I know we are getting short on time, but if anybody has anything that they would like to ask the Secretary, we have a couple. We'll start in the back. Brendan?
Yeah, I think last year or the year prior, the General Assembly funded the Ag Innovation Program. How's that going? You know, is the funding starting to roll out?
Yeah, thank you. Great question. Again, only one of its kind in the country that we have for an Ag Innovation Fund. First year funded at $10 million. We got $68 million in request. We did 88 projects, 86 sort of followed through. You know, and they're the full realm of projects. It's the forest products, it's the grape industry in the north, it's my neighbors in the Adams County, the fruit business, dairies, robotics. It's doing exactly what we would hope it would do, right? Is to recognize both the amount of innovation, but that innovation becomes both an efficiency and it's become sort of a response to sort of labor. We're seeing that very clearly, the Innovation Fund. That was year one. They're underway. Year two is open right now, open on February 2nd. It'll close, I think, the mid-March or so, another $10 million. The governor proposed in his budget for the coming 26-27 year, $19 million. So there's a $9 million increase in that fund. So, yeah, a lot of good things. We've had a lot of interest from, you know, you name the sector, right? We've had the interest. And we structured that, just to be clear, there's sort of three pieces to, or three opportunities. One, sometimes you don't know what innovation you need. So there's a planning grant that's available, and folks have taken advantage of it. Two is there are sometimes an on-farm response, right? They know what they want to do. It's an equipment piece or some addition. And then importantly, there is a regional aspect. And we've encouraged that. We've had almost sort of equal pieces across all three. That I used the example of my neighbor, the rice packing, right? You know who those folks are. You probably use them, right? But they pack for 125 growers in their innovation. So their innovation in the regional aspect actually went to the benefit of 125 growers, right? So it's there. Take advantage of it. It's open. Take a look at it. We try to be very consistent with the uses of it. Again, we've added a little bit more definition at the request of the legislature on that point. But thank you. Yeah.
Are we facing PFAS head on? We've seen it what's done in Maine and other states where farms, land, cattle have been destroyed.
So it's a great question. And the question is, have we attacked or responded to PFAS head on? I don't think so. I'll just say that it's evolving. We know a lot more about where it is and how it got there. We don't have a good response to how to contain it and remediate those areas. I'd be very honest about it. I've got one in sort of the mid-state now that's problematic because they use biosolids for the last 35 years. And that's the problem. That's the source. But we don't have a way to remediate it. And Maine, I think, may be the first state that did the remediation fund. that allowed for compensation on both land and cattle that were impacted by PFAS. We have a standard for PFAS in water. We don't have a standard for it in soil or a standard in food. And that's the problem, right? So what's your baseline? Where is it? How does it show up? What's the uptake on certain crops or vegetables and such? So that's under a lot of thought, real-time discussions, to be honest. I don't know what the EPA is going to do with that. I think I'm hopeful that they would maintain the water standard. And quite frankly, we need a national standard on the PFAS. That's part of our issue is that Maine's doing their thing and this state's doing that. There's no national standard on it. So in the absence of that, I think it's going to fall to the state to do it. But thank you. Questions or comments? Please.
So it seems to me like when I drive around Pennsylvania, drive around York County, there seems to be a lot of good farmland that's being developed. Do you have any, are there any rules or are there any guidelines? Is there anything that we can, how do you address that? Or is that an issue that you touched on?
Yeah, so it's a great question, right? This is the land use, land loss issue. So I always start by reminding all of us that, as a constitution, we have vested local land use with local governments, right? So what happens locally and where they draw lines or to what extent they want to zone different ways and such has a lot to say about it. And then as I get into some fire halls, there are more fire inside when I say that we don't want that, is that folks are quick who own the land to tell me there's a private property rights, right? So balanced against, and this is what is, I think, collectively important for us, is that between the USDA 2017 census and 2023, Pennsylvania lost 200,000 acres of farmland. Went away. 200,000 acres. We preserved in the state over 35 years 660,000 acres, and we lost 200 in 5-year census. So folks are gobbling up this beautiful land, right? If I were like this magic wand and king, there are just certain things I wouldn't do. And I would never take our prime agricultural soils to build anything on them. The 1 and 2 soils are the best soils in the world, right? 3 and 4 I like a lot just because they're great soils. And York County's got a lot of beautiful soil. Now, I understand you also have to live, right? That people want a house, right? They want shopping areas. They want access. So you've got to find that balance. But it comes back to really trying to put an emphasis on the local planning and being very clear about what you want and what you don't want. And zoning, as difficult as it is to do, is a really important tool that we have to take full access to, right? Some communities just don't want to tell people what not to do. So it's a challenge. I love the question just because I want everybody to think about what it is that we have and what's at risk if you stay on this pace that we're on. So that is an important. The only true way to preserve that farm is preserving it, right? To really, I say it, we have it here. We just need to accelerate that. And I'd love to have, the 1,200 farms that are on the backlog list for Pennsylvania that said, hey, I want to preserve this farm. We just don't have enough money. There's 1,200 of them. We preserved 6,600. And that list just keeps growing every year. So it tells me they want to respond to that. And then we need to protect it, strenuously protect those preserved farms through all of the development and all of the energy projects and all of that kind of stuff that happens. Hold on to them because they're really, really critical part of our economic machine. But thank you.
Some preserved ground farms, though, here in York County are under scrutiny to be removed from ag preservation because of the needs. And I understand up in the Erie County, some of those preserved farms, Erie grew out and they were taken out of ag preservation. Is this true, and how do we stop it?
Well, I think I looked to our experts. I mean, you cannot remove them, right? It's not an option to remove an easement on those preserved farms. There are folks who are trying. I mean, some of the projects that we know, the energy projects, are trying to, through eminent domain, you cannot remove them. So that's going to be a whole other conversation. You may like to do that, but that's not an option. Anything you want to add?
Eric Naylor,
Eric.
York County Farmland Preservation.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me. I'll just touch briefly on what the Secretary mentioned about farmland preservation in Pennsylvania is permanent. That's perpetual. That's forever and a day. No farmer has ever come to a local board and said, I have this much money and this is how much I want to pay to get out of preservation. I wouldn't even take that into consideration because there's a lot of trust that farmers put in me and put in our program to keep those farms preserved forever. We are not above energy and the federal, regulatory commission. So, some of those things can happen from time to time, and we are fighting against, a project right now in Pennsylvania, in York County, Cuffs Run. We're fighting against that to help keep our farms. But I will just add one thing while I'm up here. I was at a meeting yesterday in Harrisburg, state board meeting, and the state allocated just shy of $3 million to our county for just this upcoming year to preserve farms. So we're going to take that $3 million. We add that with about $2.5 million that our county has already put up for this year. And so we're looking at close to $5.5 million that we're going to spend on farms right here in York County just in the next year to keep those farms as farms forever. So we're grateful for what the state does for us and what our county commissioners do. And we're not going to go anywhere. We just hit 50,000 acres of preserved farmland last year, and that puts us in the top 10 in the nation. That is for every county in the entire nation. There are only 9 or 10 counties that have more preserved farmland than we have right here in York County. You might drive around and think that this is normal, what you see, but what our county and what the state has done certainly has made York County a very special place for farming and to live. So.
Yeah, Eric, thank you. Important, I think there are things with the Clean and Green, the preferential tax program, the folks taking land out of Clean and Green. That's happening, right? And that's an option that landowners have. Controlled sort of township level to establish the ag security areas in Clean and Green is something we administer. But they can step out. They have to pay the rollback tax on that for 7 years. But that is happening. There's no farm, I can tell you, in Erie County in that area that's taken a preserved farm out of production, revert it back. Yeah, can't do it. Final word?
No, absolutely.
Yeah. Any final words? Question? Yeah, data center. So thank you for that. I mean, I think it fits in the same sort of conversation about land use and where they are. I think and the governor's laid out sort of 4 core principles that will guide us as a state or proposed, right? That I think are important, right? About where are they, and there are considerations in terms of the energy source that has to come with them. So I think there's a way to do it. It does not address the land use question. Right, so that's the piece that, again, to the community here at large, we still have to figure out where to put them, even if there are conditional things that come with them, and we accept that. You still have to figure out where do you put them, and that's not addressed at the state level yet. Right, we had some guiding principles on solar, we had some guiding principles on the data centers. Again, I think folks are welcoming that, but that's not law, right? You need the local land use to decide sort of where to put that. I like, by the way, what the governor's proposed in terms of the energy sources and the local jobs and the transparency on decision making. There were issues that we heard all over the state that were not happening, and a lot of concern about that. So I think it's a great start. Thank you. Okay.
Mr. Secretary, thank you so much. We
Always
appreciate your updates. It is really good to be able to get the Secretary's perspective in what's happening in agriculture here in Pennsylvania. And he is always present, always engaged, and he is a friend to so many in this room. So with that, I want to thank you all for joining us on probably what is considered one of the scariest days of the year here on Friday the 13th. Thank you again to the fabulous folks at the auxiliary here at Eureka Volunteer Fire Company. The breakfast was spectacular. Thank you to our speakers, U.S. Senator Dave McCormick, York County's own Leah Flinchbaugh, and of course, Secretary Russell Redding. Really appreciate you sharing what's ahead for agriculture in Pennsylvania, and thank you to each and every one of you for attending here today, and of course, for what you do to make York County agriculture one of the top counties in the Commonwealth, maybe even in the country. We're all a little York County proud here. And just one final housekeeping note, please don't forget to take our survey. It really does help us to know how we can improve this event for you next year. And with that, thank you. Wish you an absolutely amazing planting season and another great year in Pennsylvania and York County agriculture. Take care, everyone.